Nigeria's AfCFTA air corridor to Kenya, Uganda and South Africa could arguably not have come at a more opportune time. This with U.S. tariffs at play while the jury is still out on AGOA. The corridor is a major boost for intra-Africa trade, slashing export costs by as much as 75%. Standard Bank's regional economist for West Africa, Abdulazeez Kuranga, joins us with greater perspective on what this means for intra-Africa trade during the current climate. Abdulazeez, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. And let's start there, just with your assessment on the importance of this move and further unlocking the potential for the AfCFTA.
Okay, thank you for having me. Currently, we've not really been seeing much trades happening between Nigeria and African countries, and even Africa at large. We've not really been seeing much of the trades coming in. And that still has to do with, you see tariffs and non-tariffs and barriers. And you see issues like poor infrastructure facilities across the continent, limited access to finance and so on and so forth. Because if I also look at the Nigeria's top 10 trade partners over time, you don't really see African countries featuring in among Nigeria's top 10 trade partners.
Yeah.
In fact, as of Q1 2025, the only African country that featured for among Nigeria's top 10 trade partners was South Africa. And Africa only accounted for about 9% of Nigeria's total exports and about 6% of Nigeria's total imports and destinations. So, which shows or which still underscores the current view of intra-Africa's trade being very, very, very low. At least for now, this is positive. The air corridor is positive, but it's just that over the short term, the impacts may be minimal. Given the fact that trade is still the kind of trade occurring between African countries is still very, very low. But over the long term, you should also be expecting to see boost to businesses. This should then be supporting an increase in trade and fully displays European countries in the top 10 trade partners of the country, because currently for now, most of Nigeria's trade destinations are in Europe and also in Asia. So countries like China are featuring, countries like Netherlands, and also countries like Spain also featuring amongst the top trade partners for Nigeria.
You mentioned something quite important there, that African countries, a lot of African countries don't even feature in the top 10 when it comes to trade with Nigeria. Can we point this, or can we use infrastructure issues that are limiting intra-Africa trade at the moment?
So for the infrastructure issues, so it still has to do with bordersome customs and clearance, and you also see the road networks between African countries is still the proper linkage is still not there, and also the kind of, even for rail infrastructure, and also the air transportation is still not very, very big enough. And most of the air transportation, you see them occurring with humans and not really much of a cargo today. And even for Nigeria as a case study, you see most imports coming in, but by the time you now want to go back in form of exports, most of them are going empty-handed. Most of these containers are still going empty-handed. And that also then just acts as one of the barriers we trade within these African countries. And I guess that's where the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is also coming into place to reduce tariffs and also remove some of the barriers that still exist within these African countries.
All right, let's get into the intricacies of Nigeria's move and how that air corridor will be operated.
So for Nigeria, we've seen the Minister of Trade saying that the corridor is expected to support the exports of products like textiles, cosmetics, and I also think agro products, and this should be helping Nigerian businesses grow. So as far back as around May, June this year, we've seen the government also trying to remove tariff lines on up to 90% of Nigeria's total exports. So this should further unlock export potentials of the country, because before this current administration, you've seen the country practicing some protectionist policies. So with the removal of some of these protectionist policies, and also trying to put measures in place to improve exports and competitiveness, then you are expecting to see an improvement in trade flows. And this should also be part of the contributors of GDP growth for Nigeria over the medium term. And by significantly lowering logistics costs as a result of this air corridor, the initiative then makes it more competitive and profitable for exporters to expand their reach across the continent, and especially across the countries within this corridor at large.
It also addresses a key issue for SMEs, right? This is the access to markets for these small businesses.
Exactly. So which is why I mentioned products like textiles, the agro products, and even cosmetics in Nigeria. So especially those that are being owned by women. So fundamentally, you see more women into these products, and that should help and boost some of these SMEs. And also given the fact that most of the businesses in Nigeria, and you see a lot of SMEs and that are still trying to grow. So by the time you are supporting these SMEs and also opening up more corridors for trade, and you tend to see these SMEs being boosted. And key for the government with this initiative, and the key products or the key industries are within agro products, agro-allied products, cosmetics, and also textile-related products.
Abdulazeez, do you think this is just a start of many initiatives to sort of speed up the implementation of the free trade agreement in an environment, of course, where we are also dealing with those Trump tariffs?
Yes, so we've seen some other initiatives also coming up. So for instance, you'll be surprised that before now, Nigeria's closest neighbors, which is Benin Republic, you don't really see much of a trade flow between Nigeria and that country. But now we are seeing the government trying to align with the governments of this country to just further push trade and also reduce illegal activities going on there. The government also trying to remove some export barriers with regards tariffs for other countries across African region to effectively align with the African continental free trade area. So there are also a lot more coming up, and with the fact that the government is also aiming to bring in private sector investments, while also limiting the role of the government to more of regulation and easing business conditions, then we think over the medium term we should expect more business-friendly policies which should further unlock trade activities in the country. And as a matter of fact, for our medium-term growth estimates, we are expecting trade to feature solidly over the medium term, given how we've seen the current administration trying to remove a lot of barriers limiting trade activities and limiting the export competitiveness of the country.
And this also aligns, right? This initiative also aligns with Nigeria's move to try and diversify away from oil, right? How has it been faring when it comes to that and trying to at least grow some of the other industries?
So for now, progress is still limited for now. So, these are fiscal policies, so it takes a long period of time for you to see results. Unlike monetary policy actions where interest rate is increasing, you see effects in the market within 2 months, within 3 months, and the likes. But fiscal policies, they take a long period of time for you to start seeing effects. But it's also very important to recognize the efforts of the fiscal authorities, and these efforts will be serving as foundation to unlock opportunities to unlock growth over the medium term.
All right, then.
And in terms of
yes.
data, we've not really seen much because the effect of this takes a long period of time to materialize. So in terms of data, we've not really seen much of an effect.
All right, then let's leave it there. Abdulazeez, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Now, that was Standard Bank's regional economist for West Africa, Abdulazeez Kuranga.